Hello, friends. Today I'm going to be telling you about one of my greatest heroes, J.P. Morgan. I love art, and he was probably the greatest art benefactor of all time. He was a banker in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He was basically the Federal Reserve Bank of the day and saved our economy more than once. He had powers that equaled that of the president of his day. He reorganized U.S. railroads and controlled over 5,000 miles of them himself. And he was very instrumental in forming U.S. Steel and General Electric. By 1911, he was worth $60 million. Today, that would be $1.3 billion. But I think that's a very incomplete picture of his wealth, and I'll tell you why. In his day, there was no art really in America. If you wanted to see great works of art, you had to get on a boat and go to Europe. And he had seen it all himself because he had lived most of his early years, and his education and start of his career was in Europe. He had a goal of wanting to buy a huge collection of art and give it to the American people so that they wouldn't have to go to Europe to see this sort of stuff. At age 53, he inherited his father's fortune. Now, he had already started collecting art at age 19, but after the inheritance, he went big time into collecting, and he got some art buyers that worked with him and advised him, but he approved every purchase. And in 20 years, he collected the greatest collection of art in the world. It's quite an accomplishment. He collected everything except modern art and American art, because you could see that in America in his days. He collected old master art, which you can't even get anymore. Those are my favorite paintings. Drawings, objets d'art, Greek, Roman, and Egyptian antiquities, and reliquaries, which were beautiful containers for the bones of the saints. And he had one that was for Saint Mary Magdalene, that was his most famous, and it's at the Met. And it has her tooth in there. One of the interesting facts about him is that he was looking through his list of things that he owned, and he saw he had a Michelangelo, and he didn't remember that. And he wrote to his buyer and said, "Where is this?" He said, "Oh, it's sitting on your desk in front of you." Can you imagine having a Michelangelo and not even knowing that you had it? A fascinating fact about him was that he only read trashy novels, but he was one of the greatest collectors of collectible books in the world, especially illustrated manuscripts. He created the Morgan Library in this beautiful building to house it. And the library itself, where all of these are contained, looks like something from the Vatican Museum. It's just gorgeous. And he had the most beautiful room in America was his office in that building. And if you could sell the works of art that he had in there today, probably $500 million just from that one room. One thing that you have to keep in mind about saying that he's worth $1.3 billion is that Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos both live in America, in Seattle, and they have these huge fortunes, of course, and if you could combine them, you'd have a lot of money, but it would not even be able to make a dent into recreating the type of collection that he had today, because that stuff is no longer available. It's really priceless. It's all in museums. So he had an incredible collection with his art, and he gave it all to us. 40% of his holdings he gave to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which he helped to create, and he gave it to the rest of the stuff to other museums around the country. A fact that is fascinating to me is that the Museum of Natural History, which is this huge museum on the other side of Central Park, he also was very instrumental in founding it, and gave probably the most significant collections to that museum that it had, including the unbelievable collections of gems and minerals, which, if you've ever seen it there, it's just jaw-dropping. He was a remarkable man. He had a lot of money, but he used that money to make other people's lives richer. And I think that's a wonderful legacy, and I am so thankful for all the art that he gave us. I have a very extensive slideshow after this where you can sort of see the type of collectibles that he had as part of his collection, and see why we are very much enriched by the life of J.P. Morgan. Thank you very much.